Michael Jackson is easily my most listened to artist in my lifetime, and with the release of the new Michael movie, I figured that I should rank his main 8 studio albums from weakest to strongest, based solely on my personal opinion. I'll also choose my favorite and least favorite track off each project, rate those songs out of 10, then score the albums out of 100. If you enjoy the video, I would deeply appreciate your support. I do read and respond to every last comment. Now, let's start! In last place, I have MJ's first posthumous album, Michael, from 2010. Before I even get into the music, I love this damn cover. Look at it! You can see all the different versions of him in the back, which has many iconic references to his previous music videos and songs. It looks really promising, but never judge a book by its cover. When it comes to the music itself, it's lacking heavily. First off, most of these songs are just pretty okay. There's a lot of simple pop tracks without much thought or personality to them. It's just some generic posthumous work that felt strung together to fill the length of an album. But secondly, and more importantly, 3 out of these 10 songs are not even him! These tracks eventually did get taken off streaming after years of complaining from fans, for good reason, but Keep Your Head Up, Monster, and Breaking News all just had a different guy come in and sing, pretending to be MJ. Like, come on! Do y'all know just how much unreleased music Jackson truly has? I bet there's enough to fill up multiple amazing albums. Yet, his record label thought it was a good idea to lie to the fans, betray MJ's legacy, and ruin pretty much everything that this already meh album had going for itself. It's awful. Genuinely, f*** those 3 songs and everything that they stand for. It was like AI music before AI music was even a thing. With that ramble out of the way, there are a few tracks that I think are pretty good. Overall, the album has very polished and spotless production throughout, which is enjoyable, sure, but it also feels a bit too clean. Kind of like as if the personality was all just wiped away, if you know what I'm saying. But yeah, if I had to choose a favorite off the album, I'd go with I Like the Way You Love Me is just, you know, a bouncy, soothing love song, and it's nothing all that mind-blowing, but hey, it's fun, it's nice, it's like a strong 6 out of 10 for me. And I don't really need to say which one is my least favorite. I kinda already explained my thoughts on that subject. And no, I'm not picking which one I like the least of those 3. All of them are the worst. They're all 0 out of 10 songs, and the real monster is not 50 Cent, it's the record label for ever thinking that this would go over well. I'm about to transform into Godzilla or some shit, so let's just get on to the end of this one. Overall, Michael is just a shitty attempt to follow up the unbelievably amazing legacy that MJ left behind. Most of these songs are kind of boring, uninspired, and unmemorable, and worst of all, 3 out of the 10 tracks were literally a fake version of him. It shouldn't even be called Michael, it should be called 70% Michael. I'm giving this one a 24 out of 100. It is awful.
I met her on the way to Chicago.
At 7th place, we have his other posthumous album. Who would have guessed? The bottom 2 are the 2 posthumous ones? Escape is his most recent release, coming out in 2014, and it's definitely a lot better than that sack of shit in the previous placement. There's some common tones and atmospheres on this project, mainly being that spacey kind of production that makes these tracks sound like they were recorded on the damn space station while it's orbiting Earth. And this probably wasn't intended, but to me, it always felt like this represented MJ flying up into the stars after his passing, giving one more cosmic sounding atmospheric finale as a closer. I don't know, it's just a little theory. Also, there's something that I quickly need to clarify. There are 2 different versions for all of the songs on Escape. There's the modern, updated album versions, then the original, untouched ones that came at the end of the album. I'm only including the ones on the album, not the originals. Some of the originals are kind of demo-like and they weren't even meant to be on the album, so I'll just treat them as deluxe tracks, okay? Anyway, this track list is mostly pretty consistent, with only a few duds, so my favorite one was not easy to pick. But I had to go with Love Never Felt So Good, and no, not the Justin Timberlake remix. To be clear, I do like that one, but I've gone with the first track off the album. The original was recorded in 1983, but this version was polished and cleaned up to sound more like a groovy, disco-y dance track that you'd hear in the background at a club. The lyrics are gorgeous, it's incredibly catchy, and it's a near perfect song to me. Like, a light 9 out of 10, I think. Now, unlike choosing my favorites, picking which one I like the least was not difficult. Do You Know Where Your Children Are is such an outdated and undeserving track to make this cut. It was originally written in 1987, back when it was much more common for kids to go out and wander the streets until the sun came down. Hell, during the 80s, they'd literally put on PSAs every night on TV, like asking the parents if they knew where their children were, cause that's how normal it was for them to just get lost. But guys, this version came out in 2014. This doesn't really happen anymore because of cell phones and more social awareness, so the meaning of this track is completely lost, it's completely outdated, and now it's just MJ asking where your kids are. You see how fucking creepy that sounds? And I don't even enjoy it sonically. It all sounds super boring. It's just an overall flop of a track. Like a 3 out of 10 for me. Anyway, if you've ever wondered what Michael would sound like on more modern, spacey, and remastered production, well, that's what Escape is. It's a pretty good album that captures a solid amount of what made him so lovable in the past, so I'm giving it a 64 out of 100. I like most of it. Place, I've gone with Invincible, his 2001 album, and his last one before his passing, and I just want to say that I think a lot of people wildly overlook this album, and I'm not sure why. Not only are there fantastic, dreamy pop hits like Break of Dawn, Heaven Can Wait, You Rock My World, and Butterflies, but Biggie is also on the 6.5-minute intro track, Unbreakable, and he pops the fuck off. Also, the song Heartbreaker is like almost a precursor to dubstep music. I don't know how they even thought to make a song like this, but hey, I appreciate its existence. And let's not forget MJ using his low-pitched, deep voice on 2000 watts. It feels really cursed, to be honest, but it's interesting to hear at least. I do gotta say though, there are 16 tracks, and it's an hour and 17 minutes long. Yeah, a handful of these tracks feel pretty damn unnecessary. They just add to the album's length rather than adding to its actual content. It can be a bit annoying. Yeah, now, when it comes to my favorite one, I'm not really unique, come on. You Rock My World is an all-time great MJ song, in my opinion. It's so laid back and perfected, and I feel like every single note of this song was so meticulously planned out. It's amazing. Although, I will say, I've always found the intro section to be pretty damn awkward. Michael was in his 40s at this point, and in the video, the woman he's constantly flirting with looks way younger than him, so the dynamic feels a bit odd to me personally. It doesn't ruin the song at all though. I've honestly gotten used to it, so it's still a 10 out of 10 for me, but it's just, you know. Anyway, this album, again, has a clear least favorite for me. The Lost Children is a heartwarming song where he's just empathizing with all of the missing children around the world, hoping that they'll find their way back to their home. And I swear it is a pure coincidence that the songs I've picked as being the worst are the ones about children. That wasn't planned, I promise. The song is just sonically very uninteresting. The vocal performances aren't captivating, the production feels super empty, and the message wears off about 35 seconds in. Yet, the song drags on for 4 fucking minutes straight. It feels like being forced to sit and watch a documentary in school. Like, sure, I get what it means, and I appreciate it, but I'm never coming back to this shit in my own free time, ever. I'm thinking a 3 out of 10 for me. All in all, Invincible is a clean, dreamy, sometimes innovative project that unfortunately has a good amount of bloat that holds it back. But even with that sort of mess of a track list that it has, there are a lot of incredible gems to be found here. So I'm gonna give it a 71 out of 100. I think it is a good album. Up next, in 5th place, we've got History, and obviously I won't be including Disc 1 from this album as part of the rating, because it's just a greatest hits compilation. There's no original material, so let's just ignore it entirely. Yeah, History is an incredibly politically charged album. Like, seriously, there is a lot of confrontation here, like on They Don't Care About Us, talking about systemic racism and how unfair our systems in place are. Earth Song discusses the destruction of the environment and how we are ruining the only world we have. And DS is a literal diss track towards the dude who made the public accusations against MJ. And there's many, many more examples. Essentially, it's a very angry and emotional album. And also, there's a random cover of Come Together by the Beatles. I don't know why this is here. I don't like it at all. It feels completely pointless. But anyway, my favorite track here is honestly an underappreciated masterpiece. Tabloid Junkie is a powerful track talking about how easily people will just blindly trust what they see in the media, and literally in the middle of the song, he just eats his microphone as some sort of stunt or something. I don't even know what that means. I just made that up. See how simple it is to lie through the media? Y'all believed me, didn't you? Don't lie to me, you did. Seriously though, he's right, and it's a gorgeous track. I adore the catchy melodies so much, and it gets stuck in my head super quickly, which may be a bad thing? Come on, y'all. I don't want to be out in public just singing.
They say he's homosexual.
That might be a bit weird. And finally, the song closes off with such a badass and hard-hitting line. You're so damn disrespectable. You tell him, Mike. Get him. 10 out of 10. You go get him, man. And once again, there's a track on this album that I really do not like.
La 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 la.
Another song about a child. MJ, it's not working. Just stop doing it. Little Susie, I understand the message behind it. It is a tragic story of a little girl named Susie who was neglected and sadly passed away. And I feel like a terrible person for saying this, but it's a terrible listening experience for me. The orchestral churning instruments in the back don't feel as emotional as they do overly simple and cliche. It's like he tried to make a song for a haunted house or something, like he wanted it to be more creepy than meaningful. So the message is lost on me, it's super ineffective, and it goes on for over 6 minutes straight. Just remember, I truly don't mean any disrespect to anyone. I'm sorry if this part is offensive, I just don't like the song. It's a solid 3 out of 10 in my book. Yeah, History could have honestly been one of Jackson's best projects ever. It has so much personality, so much passion and frustration behind it. You can literally feel the anger in his soul just by listening to it. Unfortunately though, there are a few tracks that largely miss the mark and hurt the project a lot to me. So I'm feeling a 77 out of 100 on this one. I'd say it is a very good album. Let's go! Now we're getting into the classics. Dangerous was Jackson's first album of the 90s, and by this point, he had already solidified himself as a global icon, and this album kind of reflects that. A larger-than-life, grand beast of a project. I mean, it's an hour and 17 minutes long with 14 tracks, making it feel like a full fucking shift at work, but one that I never want to end. It's like a super colorful and layered marathon where every single piece, yes, even the weaker ones, means something in the end. And not gonna lie, the album cover is a great way to explain its atmosphere. There is a ton going on, so much to analyze, so much to unpack. I'm left here wondering if Waldo is hidden in there somewhere, and it can be almost overwhelming, but in an interesting and entertaining way. Moving on to my favorite track here, it's not a super traditional pick. Will You Be There is an over 7.5 minutes, spiritual, majestic, gigantic, orchestral treasure of a song. It's a super slow burner that gradually adds more and more energy as the track goes on. The lyrics are careful and delicate, kinda asking for unconditional love, and it gets so incredibly emotional towards the end. God damn, when those choirs hit, it feels like the entire earth has frozen, leaving every single person paralyzed. And after that, potentially my favorite part, the outro, where Michael delivers an extremely poetic spoken word outro, essentially asking the listeners to not turn their back on him. You can hear him start to tear up and cry a little bit. It's genuinely one of the most beautiful moments I've ever heard on a song. Yeah, if it wasn't obvious, I'm going with a 10 out of 10 for Will You Be There. Now, there's only one song on this album that I wouldn't classify as good.
Gone too soon.
That's not to say that Gone Too Soon is a bad track, I just don't get much from it. It tells the heartbreaking story of Ryan White, a friend of MJ's, who tragically passed away at just 18 years old from AIDS. It is devastating to hear. That is not why it's at my last place though. My issue is how, to me, it's almost reliant on a deep emotional connection to enjoy. Like, when I first heard it, it made me want to cry. It hit super deep, and I wanted to look into it more. But after I got past that first wave of shock, it never hit the same, and I don't think it ever will hit the same. Now, I just look at it more as a decent track from Dangerous, but not as strong as the others, so it's a solid 6 out of 10 to me. Overall, Dangerous has always felt like MJ's most grand and magnificent album sonically for me. It's like a collection of some of the most emotionally impactful and resonating songs he could have possibly made. I'm gonna give this one an 88 out of 100. I think it is a fantastic album. There are a handful of albums that I'm gonna speedrun review before going on to my top 3, cause they sadly didn't make the cut of the video. Got to Be There is an early 70s pop soul classic, where a 13-year-old Michael shows how much potential he truly has. 66 out of 100. Ben, from the same year, is a very similar album. It gets a bit more emotional and more in-depth at times, but I also think it's a tad less consistent overall. 64 out of 100. Music and Me just feels like the same thing, but in a different year. I don't dislike any of it, but I don't really like any of it. 51 out of 100. Forever Michael was his final solo album as a kid, being around 16 years old at the time, and I think it wraps this era up pretty well, so 62 out of 100. And finally, for my last honorable mention, I went with Blood on the Dance Floor. It is a remix album from 1997 that has 5 brand new songs that I love. Well, 4 that I love, and Superfly Sister. Then there's 8 remixes, which I think are horrible. Dog, there is an Earth Song Club remix. Like, listen to this. I don't know who cooked this one up, but I kind of wish that the earth would just fucking blow up or something so this song never existed in the first place. Seriously though, this album is half great, half atrocious, so I'm going with a 49 out of 100. Now, we can get back to the video. Third place, Bad from 1987. Such a classic. I always thought it was so adorable to see sweet old Mike trying to be a bad boy with his little leather jacket on. He's not scary at all, let's be honest. But yeah, this album leans heavily into those iconic core 80s sounds. So many synths and snares to the point where I can just picture myself watching Back to the Future while solving like a fucking Rubik's Cube or something. It's just the 80s personified. And now, since I've made it to my top 3 albums, I figured it would be fitting and fun to choose my top 3 favorites off each one instead of just my singular favorite. So, moving on to third place. I'll be completely honest, Leave Me Alone was never technically on bad. I always thought it was, cause it was on the CD versions and now on streaming years later, but it was just a single that was later slapped onto the album. So, should I even count it? I don't care. I love it too much not to. It's a very confrontational song telling people to just leave him the f alone. He's another human being, chill out on him, you know, it's an easy 10 out of 10 in my book. In second place, I have the biggest and possibly most iconic track off the album. Once again, it's sweet seeing MJ trying to be a smooth criminal as if he's not just a bucket of gumdrops kind of guy. Yeah, I adore those memorable synths, the loud clapping snares, and of course the guitar solos. And tragically, we never got an answer to whether or not Annie is okay, so that sucks. I don't even know, but I'm obviously giving this one a 10 out of 10. I just have to. And for my favorite, it wasn't really a hard pick. Man in the Mirror is one of my favorite songs of all time, and most likely my number one MJ song.
I'm starting with the man in the mirror.
It is a gorgeous anthem of change and care. If every single one of us looked deeply within ourselves and reflected on what we could work on, the world would, without a doubt, become a better place. It's also so positive and uplifting sonically. It literally sounds like what I'd hear if I got first place in like a Mario Kart tournament or something. I could have it on repeat for hours and hours and hours. A fucking 38 out of 10. It's a 10, but I'll just leave it like that for fun. And heading on to what I think the weakest track is, it's not easy. I consider every one of these to be a good song.
I just can't stop loving you.
But I think I Just Can't Stop Loving You is unfortunately my least favorite. It's a smooth and slow ballad about being so in love with someone, and I want to come up with a great reason as to why it's at my last place. But to be honest, it's just not as memorable as the others, and it's the one I return to the least. Simple as that. Still a strong track though, so I'm feeling a strong 7 out of 10 here. Anyway, Bad was when Jackson decided to really lean into those fun and dreamy 80s sounds, and he hit it way out of the park. These tracks are all so catchy and such a blast. I'm gonna give this one a 95 out of 100. I think it is a near perfect record. At second place, we have the one and only Thriller, the highest selling album of all time, and for good reason. It's the closest thing we've ever gotten to a greatest hits record in real time. Literally every single song here was an instant classic, even the ones that are less popular. It's absurd that they all managed to end up on a singular project. And of course, I have to mention the 3-track run, Thriller, Beat It, Billie Jean. These are all some of the most beloved and recognizable songs in music history. Not only are they from the same artist, but from the same album, and all in a row? How the fuck does that even happen? I can't even believe it. So yeah, let's just move on to my third place from the project.
Lay back in my tenderness.
Y'all sleep on the lady in my life way too much, I swear. And yeah, sure, this song has like 100 million streams. It's not a small track, that's not what I'm saying. But I see most people having this at like second to last or last place on the album, and I just don't get it. It's one of my favorite love songs of the 80s, and I also adore how he approaches it. He doesn't say she's the best in the world, or that he's gonna spend $1 billion on her. He just promises that she's the lady in his life. So simple, so sweet, and so real. It's perfect. A 10 out of 10 for me. Now, moving on to my second favorite, we have the classic. Billie Jean might as well be the most widely known and loved song in the history of music. From the catchy bass line off rip to those glowy and spacey synths. Then there's MJ's gorgeous vocals telling Billie Jean that she's not his lover, the damn fucking kid is not his son. It is just everything that you need in a song, so I'm feeling like a 7 out of 10 here. Nah, it's a 10. I'm messing around. And for my favorite track off Thriller, it changes around constantly, but as of right now, I'm going with maybe be mine. It feels like the after effects of the disco era, plus the 80s synths and R&B, alongside MJ and Quincy Jones' mastery of production. Don't even get me started on that final third chorus near the end. There's the layered vocals in the back, and it feels like the peak of the song. It just scratches a part of my brain that I didn't think music ever could. 10. Yeah, it's a 10. I don't like picking a least favorite because I adore every single track on this project. But I guess The Girl Is Mine is my least favorite. It just shows MJ and Paul McCartney fighting back and forth over a woman that they both are in love with. It's not as serious as the other love songs he's made. It feels more silly and theatrical, but I love that about it. It's literally at my last place only because it feels a bit interlude-y. Not that it's weak at all. It's still like a light 9 out of 10 for me. Nothing bad. I'm sure that every single one of you watching has heard at least one song from Thriller. I'd be shocked if you haven't, to be honest. It is literally the album. I think it perfects everything that pop music is able to do. I'm going with a 100 out of 100. I think it is an all-time great. My favorite Michael Jackson album, as well as one of my personal favorite records of all time, is 1979's Off the Wall. It's disco music at its absolute finest. High, positive, infectious energy, groovy rhythms, and iconic vocal runs. Catchy bassline after catchy bassline. And randomly, in the middle, he gets broken up with the girl and it makes me want to fucking scream and cry! I love it. I love it all so much. And also, I just gotta mention, he was just 20 years old when he made this. That's me right now. Jesus Christ, I'm a fucking failure. Nah, but seriously, let's move on to my top 3 songs. In third place, I went with Get on the Floor's bassline right at the start of the song just takes my breath away. It's one of the most groovy, movie, dancey sounding songs I've ever heard. And I sure would love just to groove with you whenever this one comes on, MJ. I really would. I promise you. 10 out of 10, 10 out of 10, and again, a 10 out of 10. What's the biggest song off the album again? Oh yeah, it's my second favorite track. Rock With You has my personal favorite vocal run in music history. The one that leads into the final chorus that I played in that little audio clip there. It's essentially Ascension. The sentence invented dimensions. I'm just saying words that rhyme. Did that sound cool? Man, how do you comment on Rock With You? It's just a perfect pop R&B disco song. Y'all know it. Y'all love it. I'm hoping you'd give it a 10 out of 10 as well, but I don't really care if you do or not. Yeah, moving on to my first place, it's my favorite song off the wall is Off the Wall. I said off 3 times in that sentence, but I'm pretty sure it still makes sense. I mean, come on, this song has some of the most feel-good, happy, carefree energy I could possibly imagine.
But the madness in the music get to you. Life ain't so bad at all.
Any labels looking to sign me, fuck off. But yeah, I just want to wrap this song up in a tiny little ball, tuck it into bed next to me, and have the best rest of my life. It makes me feel comfortable and relaxed. I love it to death. Easily a 10 out of 10 for me. With all of those absolute bangers out of the way, there is one track that I find to be ever so slightly weaker on its own.
Only be a girl.
This is difficult to explain because I think Girlfriend is a perfect track within the context of Off the Wall. It's probably the highest moment on the album emotionally, just perfectly capturing the feeling of happiness. There's even the little part that was clearly an inspiration for songs like Fantasy by Mariah Carey. But anyway, this song is right before She's Out of My Life, and the fact that it jumps from a sentimental high like this to potentially the saddest moment in MJ's entire discography wrecks me on every single listen. It's just brutal. But yeah, outside of the album, Girlfriend is still an amazing, heartwarming song, but I just don't think it hits quite as hard if it's not in its place on this track list. A light 9 out of 10 for me. Sorry, that's just how I feel. All in all, I don't ever want to stop talking about Off the Wall. It's probably the album that makes me feel the most joyful and grateful for everything I have. It's a staple within 70s music. It's essentially the closer to the disco era, and it is without a doubt my favorite MJ album. 100 out of 100. Pure perfection. Thanks for watching to the end. Comment cactus to prove you made it here, and I'll see y'all in the next one.